one last thing. I say it every production. What we do every day lasts forever. You know, this work will last for as long as human beings are watching things on this earth. All right? Cool. So, Jared, you're going to put the camera here to start. Yeah. When you first heard that I was going to make 12 Westerns in 12 months, what was your thought?
I thought it was the stupidest idea I'd ever heard of, and I wanted to be part of it.
Hit it. Scene 21, hero, take one.
He's crazy as hell.
Settle.
This guy's nuts.
Action.
This is the project of either a madman or a visionary or a combination of both.
I was just like, let me email the one contact I have in Mississippi. I was like, do you have anything happening? And he was like, I actually have 12 things happening.
I gotta tell somebody!
All of this is just nuts. I mean, it really is. It's nuts.
In 2013, I made this project called 52 Shorts in 52 Weeks. It was the first of my, quantity challenges with the goal just to become a better filmmaker. The idea that if I made a short film every week, then at the end of the year, I would be a better filmmaker. And at the end of that year, we showed all 52, and I thought, well, what is the next challenge that I can set for myself? I thought, 12 features in 12 months. Now that would sound crazy to most people, but I thought, well, that's not quite hard enough, right? Because they could be 12 features all set with 2 people in a hotel room or a basement, conversation pieces. I said, what sounds really challenging? The Western genre.
My initial thought was that you'd probably give up the idea after you get involved in seeing how difficult it was. And I'm not saying this to be facetious, but making one film is climbing a mountain, and I'm talking about a film made in, placed in contemporary times where you don't have the problems of costumes, you don't have the problem of animals, you don't have the problems of scenery from another time. And so I figured you probably would wind up doing 1, maybe 2 or 3, but I wasn't sure that you were going to be able to complete the 12. And not being able to complete the 12 wouldn't have placed any onus on you because there was nobody demanding that you do that. And so it seemed to me that it would have been easy for you to say, and understandable, at least to anybody sensible, that you weren't able to do this particular plan, as ambitious as it sounded.
At first I thought, why? I've never heard of anybody doing anything like that. I knew that if anybody could do it, it would be Travis Mills, but I wasn't exactly sure what the meaning of the project was.
No, it was an ambitious project. I knew you were thorough and prepared and trusted people, and moved quickly. Most filmmakers I've dealt with over the years, couldn't process doing that, preparing for it and getting it done, shooting a film a month.
I came up with this project at the end of 2013 and started to work on the concepts for the screenplays and started to actually write some of the screenplays during 2014. Some of the movies that ended up being part of the 12 actually were conceived at that point, like She Was the Deputy's Wife, Heart of the Gun, The New Frontier, which was just called Frontier at that point. And I didn't know what I was doing. I'd only seen so many Westerns, so I started studying directors like Bud Boetticher and Anthony Mann and watching more films by John Ford and Howard Hawks. And with kind of the influence of my friend and mentor Gus Edwards, I started to learn more about what the Western genre is all about and what I could do with it.
When I went to film school, when we came out, we all came out with a lot of passion to make films. We all had scripts generally, but raising money, dealing with actors, things like that, essentially discouraged us all. But in your case, you actually created your own circumstance. I mean, you just decided this is what I'll do. And I remember the very first time when you, after several shots, and we talked about that, you decided to make a feature. Again, we felt like we needed an army of people behind us. We made efforts, and when we couldn't get people together, we just abandoned the project. You went the opposite direction. You found the people. If people flaked out on you, you found new people. And you weren't ever discouraged about doing that, and you just kept adding and adding. One feature led to another, to another, to another.
Thankfully, I finished those scripts, back in 2014, and because I got distracted doing so many other movies, they sat around on the shelf for a long time, and I didn't read some of them again until 2019 when I decided, okay, now's the time, I'm doing it. And that gave me a lot of perspective to see what was wrong with the scripts and what could be improved.
Then I was actually surprised at how many different stories you knew, or very many sources you could find to tell Western stories. I had suggested that I would write one for you. You'd said it was okay, and I got stuck in the middle.
In 2017, I was drawn to this story that was suggested by my late grandfather. His friend Robert E. Jones had written the true story of something that happened in Lawrence County, Mississippi. The story was called The Outlaw, the Sheriff, and the Governor. I thought, oh, I don't even need a script. This is a Western movie here in just 15 pages. And it was this crazy story about this outlaw who killed his brother and went on the run, and then the sheriff that was looking for him, and the sort of mob that formed to kill him. And we made the film in 2017. I called it Blood Country. And to my surprise, it was one of my most successful movies. And it wasn't because there was anyone famous in it. You could argue it wasn't even because it was particularly a great movie. I think it did really well because it was a Western. And I learned for the first time that there's a whole bunch of people out there that will watch Westerns just because they love the genre.
Well, Blood Country was incredibly well done. I mean, it was incredibly impressive to me to see those actors. Everybody was so good. It looked good. It was a good story. Everything about it was so good, was so beyond the small budget that you had.
When I was in California, I'd worked on some fairly big budget things, and I just saw how much money gets pissed away and wasted on people. Like, I'm looking at some people on these bigger sets, and I'll watch a guy all day and see him do nothing. And like, what is he supposed to be doing? And he's getting paid. So on your sets, I like the way you run it. I like the way every morning we would have a huddle and go over the call sheet and what was what.
I thought it was crazy knowing that the projects weren't really even ready going into the production year, knowing that you were still floating around scripts, and some scripts weren't done. And then as the project went on, some were completely scrapped and new ones were done in the middle of the year.
One of the things that holds me back when I think of a film project is how do I get it produced? Can I get this done? Can I get that done? Where will I get horses? No, I can't, so I won't put horses in there. So, having gone through or attempting to go through the process, I began to realize and appreciate how difficult it has to be.
When you're ready.
A man is starving to death out here, and nobody give a prairie dog's ass about it.
Yeah, I can outrun, outjump, outshoot.
I'm the only stop between Fort Smith and Little Rock. That's 150 goddamn miles.
And I still can't help.
Well, if it's conversation you're after, Mr. Langford, sit yourself down right there.
I seen you. And I know who you is.
You're very like cantankerous,
Yes.
right? So just try to add some just different flavors. Some of it might just be kind of like talking to yourself, almost like, well, you know, they did this, what, you know. So it's not just all one note kind of spitting at him.
Right.
So let's do it again and just take your time with it and try to add some variety. Lee would be a really good person to have somewhere in the movie. He could be.
And he's got
very good.
authenticity too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he's all about the authenticity. I wish I could have him on set all the time because he's the one that's going to tell you like, no, that's not accurate. That's what he's passionate about.
The store, the tack, the horses, everything. I mean, I can pick every movie part I've ever seen, even John Wayne stuff that's not period correct. But I really think people pay attention to the actors and the storyline. And hey, that's not the right gun.
Well, especially with the pre-production, like with Bastard's Crossing, we started in September of 2019. That's when we first came to the location, started working on the inside of the trading post, and so I really got to see how pre-production can take anywhere from 6 months to a year, and you really probably the last 3 or 4 months you're really deep into it.
And then we got in and we had to build this trading post. And we had a lot of incredible help from volunteers like Lee Cannon, Damon Burks. We had some students come and help us out. We worked for days building this set.
It all came together right here in Brookhaven. Of course, to get some of the details done, like to get it to look for 1870, we had to go have 19 cups of coffee with Gordon Redd at his wood yard. And he provided a 18-wheeler with a low-bed trailer of gray wood that we used to improvise this set here into a 1870 Oklahoma frontier post.
I found people like working for him, like working with him, and I'm excited to get started on this. First one starts January, Bastard's Crossing.
We'll have to be a little bit fluid with the way things go.
We'll still be doing prep for the movie we're working on while we're doing it. The most ready movies are the first 4. Those have been the ones that I've been working on hardcore. Bastards, Texas Red, Deputy's Wife, and Guide to Gunfighters, right? I feel most solid about those. After that, it starts to get a little hairy, just to be honest with you. But it doesn't take much to not feel that way. Like this few days in Meridian has made a huge difference. I feel like just seeing a few locations, working on the script with Joe, doing these casting calls, I feel very prepared already for Turn and Burn, or much more prepared than I was a week ago. We've already got an option for 80% of our locations, and that's a great place to start with a movie that won't be shot until next September. I knew that I needed to get a head start on these projects as much as possible, because how could I be planning the next film while I would be filming one film? I was still looking for investors, getting a little bit here, a little bit there. And that was tough because the clock was ticking as I was just getting closer and closer to 2020, knowing that I'm about to start. Pre-production drives me crazy because all you do is ask yourself questions of whether you're ready or not. So in many ways, the first day of filming in 2020 on Bastard's Crossing was such a relief because I'm like, well, we're doing it. Here we go. I don't have anything profound to say. We're starting 12 Westerns in 12 months. Yeah. This is the first one, first day. I appreciate everybody who's here. It's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's treat each other well with respect and solve every problem one at a time. One at a time. That's how we do it.
Every time there's a problem, there's a solution that might make things a lot better, actually. So you just, you'll find it.
You said can you write me something? We need one set, one location, not a lot of moving around, having to move equipment from point A to point B. Let's simplify things. Let's do the whole story, the whole movie in one spot. Simple, easy Western that we can kind of just glide into the 12 Westerns with.
And so Joe had this script that was originally set out west, and then we moved it because I had a location in Mississippi. I said, can you move this to the southeast? Because my landlord and friend Bill has this trading post, this old Wells Fargo station right there in Brookhaven. So we rewrote it to that, but it ended up being anything but simple. First of all, because it's a trading post, all of a sudden we got to find like 5 wagons and a stagecoach and all these horses. And then the one big factor we didn't see coming was the rain.
It's only forecasting
an hour,
usually an hour to 2 hours ahead.
So when is it supposed to hit us?
We'll be in the thick of it in probably like maybe 30 minutes. I don't know. There's a long stretch of it, so it could be here for a while. At least an hour or something of heavy rain.
Here we are starting to do it, and the weather and all. And I told Travis, I said, I think it adds to it because we're trying to establish how miserable this guy is. And what better way than the first scene of the movie where he's sitting there, miserable, it's raining.
Joe and I had envisioned the character as sort of a Strother Martin type from the Sam Peckinpah movies. Finding that person was another story. So we did a couple casting calls, and we had some contenders, but we just were not satisfied. We didn't feel great about it. And I happened to be in New Orleans having dinner with Ward Emling. And I remember we were with a bunch of people, and I kind of just leaned forward and looked at him and thought, could he be Cam?
I always wondered what it was that he saw, in that gathering that would make him think that I could play a psychotic murderer, in the middle of nowhere. So I've never had another party with those people, actually. So. A man's got to think for himself, Are you okay, mister?
Ward, I think, had more of a theater background. And in theater, the script is the rule. I mean, you say every word exactly the way it is written. And he said, let me ask you about something. I go, what? And we start talking about a scene, and he said, here's what I'm thinking about saying. Are you okay with it? And I told him, I said, Ward, you've got this character. You understand what I was trying to say with him.
We have a true actor in Ward Emling. He's a true actor because he knows how to play. He knows how to, he's really in it. He's really in character.
The more you see little things, the more real, the more grounded, the more actual you can, it gets. I mean, it's not just standing in one place and waving. I mean, it's just more than that. In some instances, that's all I do, and in some instances, it's I'm going to stand differently. I'm going to do something with my hand that's weird. But these are the things, and whether it's something that you invent or something that just happens. And you know what? And I was standing in mud. That changes everything. If I had invented the walk, say, for Cam, I don't think I would have created that walk with suction cup mud.
Hey, you get back in there. Come on.
And especially as the wagons and horses came through, it just became slog. Like you see in a lot of old Western movie towns, with people just slogging through the streets to get to the saloon and get their clothes and everything dirty. That's exactly how it was here. But it worked out in our favor. It just lended so much more to the movie. I really don't think it would have been the same if it hadn't rained like it did, if we didn't have the mud.
We got really lucky, though. We were able to team up with some people in Mississippi who were lifesavers. like this guy Brad Turner out of Wesson, and we found a stagecoach in North Mississippi. We had to send Brad to go get it and bring it down. But out of the generosity of so many people in Mississippi, we were able to get 6 or 7 of those wagons in the film.
Anybody else would have spent probably $100,000 to make this film.
Yeah.
And we're doing it for a little over 20 grand, and just the production value with everything we've got, support from people and
the community support especially with the
food and everything else,
the catering,
lodging,
and stuff like that.
Lodging.
Yeah. Incredible.
And then we have a $100,000 stagecoach on scene today. You know, that's amazing for this budget film.
You told me that I needed to find a way for Sadie to give herself to Cam. And I thought, what can happen that would make her so fearful? And I thought about this character that eventually became the Trapper. And I started writing this character, and I had Creek Wilson in mind because I met Creek during Cornbread Cosa Nostra.
Killing's like making love. Just don't do it to anybody.
People that know Creek just know, he could play this part. You read the scenes involving him, and you said, that worked out good because it's she's fearful for leaving with this guy. And so that would set up a situation where she would give herself to Cam in order to stay here, rather than go off with this guy. And you say, "Oh man, I think I got the perfect guy to play that part." And you said, "Creek Wilson." I said, "Well, Shazam."
We talked about the character, and I pictured the old nasty teeth. You're not going to have a trapper, way back in those days. With a good smile or whatever. So I got those redneck teeth, and somebody had made a comment on Amazon that I got them from Dollar General. Well, Dollar General Bubba teeth is what they called them. Well, nope, those were Amazon Bubba teeth. And they were cheaper than what I would have got them for at Dollar General.
And my goal at the time was to take whoever the characters were and kind of develop a theme or some kind of a sonic recognition when that person would come on scene. Now, did that happen all the time? No, because you don't want to say, okay, here's so-and-so, oh, there's their theme song. I tried to work with it to enhance the creepiness of it, the comedy of it. So I tried to pick up those little moments that, oh, okay, that something can happen there.
Love thee, it's you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee.
I was supposed to be Jerry Van Dyke, obnoxious banjo player. No, actually, it's the first time I played banjo. And I was a little nervous, and I'd never worked with you on set, and so I get out on set and we do these kind of things. And riding in a stagecoach and playing banjo was a blast.
Travis sent me a scene out of The Wild Bunch with Ernest Borgnine, and just carried on like that. I'm going to Frisco to take a job sailing the Pacific Ocean.
That's halfway across the goddamn world, ain't it?
It's a fair piece for sure.
Bill Luckett, God rest his soul.
They got women out there, don't wear no clothes.
It's funny, one of the things that I noticed when we did that tribute to Bill, all of the actors in the scene kind of picked up his rhythm. I mean, I don't care who he was working. I was working with Morgan and John Travolta, me, other luminaries, and, that his rhythm was the rhythm of the scene.
Just keep it.
Well, okay. I'm gonna turn in.
Okay, friend. Good night. Mississippi gets a bad rap, trying to dispel the notion that Mississippians are just old white men who are bigoted. We're not. Some are, I'm sure, but I'm not.
Look, everything worked, in those 3 weeks. Things kind of conspired in the right way. And I was just able to use everything that was getting thrown at me. I don't think I'm never going to have a part like this again. I know that, and it's why I haven't really worried about auditioning for films. Like, yeah, you can't, you can't top that.
Texas Red is a little different in that regard. As I've been involved in films in local communities, those communities rally around the film. I mean, it's the best thing that's happened to their little town. And this one was never going to be that way.
Texas Red, Oklahoma kid, getting chased for the stuff they did, running to save, running to save their life. The people chasing them ain't so very nice, but they gotta keep on running to make it to the...
When you tell a story as powerful as Texas Red, where, some of the people are still living, everybody had their own sense of history, and the story is not told from the white man's perspective. It's got some of that, because that's where the story originates, in newspapers. But it wasn't, we all know that was through a different lens back then. And now the story is one of Texas Red being the hero. And he is.
It's a story out of Mississippi that's not involving just slavery per se. It's like, come on, another slave movie. Like, come on, we're more than that. What about instead of the guys that's always getting whipped and bowing down, what about the guys that's shooting back? And that's what we're doing. We shooting back.
You know me.
Stay right where you are.
I'm an Oklahoma kid.
As a filmmaker, what a lot of people don't realize is that we have a lot of our own ideas already. But I was at a benefit dinner that I was actually the speaker for the Brookhaven Animal Rescue League, and met this woman from Meadville who told me the story of Texas Red.
My name is Jennifer Griffith. I am the curator and president of the Franklin County Museum in Meadville, Mississippi. I am a contributor for the bicentennial Franklin County Remembers books, and I introduced Travis to Don Symington.
She mentioned that this writer, Don Symington, had done a bunch of research and was writing a book about this African-American man who ran from a posse, several sheriffs, the FBI, during the cold winter of 1940. And something about it stuck with me.
They say the story's always written by the victor. A lot of times our history gets squashed because of nobody wants to hear it anymore, maybe, or whoever's in charge doesn't want the narrative told. Some stories like Texas Red are just basically folklore and word of mouth that never had a chance to get out, and in this community, it seemed, nobody wanted to talk about it either. My wife's grandmother was living in this community nearby, and she knew about it as a young girl. It turned out to be something that everybody knew and nobody said a word about.
The story is a long, complicated, bloody saga.
Texas Red was a mixed African-American, Native American man.
Freewoods was in Franklin County. It's not far from the seat of Franklin County, which is Meadville. It was founded by freed slaves, which was at the time unheard of, especially during Reconstruction era. African Americans just didn't own property. People wouldn't sell to them, and the fact that they did own this property was really kind of revolutionary.
I decided to meet Don Symington. The more I heard about Texas Red and this story, the more fascinated I became. We took his research and we agreed on a film script story, and I wrote the script with his feedback along the way. And it became a very moving piece.
When we came down for the reading, I think I had 3 or 4 different characters I was reading for. At the end of it, there were tears. And you've got your hero, who is not your typical hero in these movies that typically have dealt with civil rights.
Normally, people writing Westerns write out of a tradition of Westerns, in other words, mostly Anglo-Saxons doing, settling the West or being involved in conflicts in the West. You found a story that involved African Americans, which is something that is evolving now, but not a lot of people are really doing that.
I was playing some music on Spotify that was helping me get into the zone, writing the finale of Texas Red. And this song came on, and I thought, who is this? So I went to go check out the name, Cedric Burnside. I knew the Burnside name from his grandfather, R.L. Burnside, a blues legend in Mississippi. Love his music. Said, could Cedric be related? So I queued up his album and listened to the rest of the album over and over again as I finished the script. So I messaged him on Facebook. This is who I am. I've done these Mississippi movies. I'd love to talk about Texas Red with you. Within a couple hours, his wife responded and said, Cedric is interested. And I think less than 2 weeks later, we were having Chinese buffet up near Oxford and talking about him playing Texas Red.
And people around here know the Burnside name and know that Cedric had been Grammy nominated and then a Grammy Award winner. He's got an impressive career. And so when I heard his name for the first time, my thought was perfect.
Just recorded a new album maybe 4 or 5 days ago. I went to Royals in Memphis, Royal Studios.
Said seemed like he was already Texas Red.
His family lived the blues. They lived this character of Texas Red. So kind of like I can reach back and remember my granddad, who was a deputy sheriff. He can reach back and remember his granddad.
I mean, he's 100% committed. He's in it. He is all the way in it. He wants to make a great movie. He wants to be Texas Red. He wants to do it, dude.
He is the movie in many respects because of where he came from and his history and the music and the art of it all during a time of great struggle.
And it wasn't just emotionally challenging, it was physically challenging. We're talking a role where he had to run for most of the movie, often barefoot through cold water, rocks, sticks. I mean, this guy really put himself through hell to make this movie just to tell the story of this other African-American man who also went through hell.
The initial prep for the character was the horse riding camp. Travis had the brilliant idea of putting me and Cedric Burnside in his cabin. He gave up his cabin, and we immediately built a rapport, a really cool rapport. As two creatives, we were able to kind of quickly come up with the idea for the theme to Texas Red. So I had lyrics already prepared, and I was like, I'm gonna see if this guy at least listen. He liked what I had for it, and I woke up the next morning to him downstairs creating a tune for it. I was like, oh! I said, they gonna love this. They gonna love it.
I'm loving these horses, man. Until yesterday, I didn't think I would ever get on a horse. And less known to be up to one this close and rubbing and talking to it.
Actors have a tendency to, I'm great, I can ride. Well, I had ridden, I had been experienced, worked for a veterinarian, I knew about horses, but I was not ready for this. Me being the odd man out, every person around me was looking out for me. I had Lee Cannon right there by my side watching every dang thing I did. I felt comfortable that I had enough people around me that they were gonna look out for me. But yeah, when we all lined up in the field for the great big running scene, and here's Travis, put Nick out front. Oh, okay. See what this is gonna be like. It was wonderful. What a rush. Of course, the addition of the little pine tree made for some really funny film shots there.
I think there's like 20 horses in the thing, it's like, it's real West, it makes a 1940 Mississippi story become a Western. Have you been at the Homachetta River? It's a big, broad riverbed, and it's just, it works.
Okay, hit it.
Scene Posture Rider 13, take one.
Settle. Set. And action.
Oh. Get up, get up, get up.
This is just like barely like up, like breathing, like trying to breathe. So we run out there. I'm trying to take the saddle off with the horse owner. We're pulling the legs out for the other one. He gets out. Then we just got the one that's on its side. And we pulled the saddle off. It was hilarious in retrospect because when we pulled the saddle off, the horse is flailing, trying to get up. And all of a sudden I hear them cry out, "His saddle blanket's going downstream!" So I see the saddle blanket go, so I take off after it. And I probably didn't have to, but at the last second, I jumped, I dived, and everybody was like, it was so epic. You were like going for the touchdown. I like dived to get the saddle blanket before it went too far. But we got all the horses out and they were totally okay. No broken limbs, no severe cuts. They got themselves out, but we had to get the saddle off to help it get up. You learn that no matter what, things are unpredictable with animals, but you can have the right people. Lee Cannon was there. He coordinated most of the Posse Rider scenes. I mean, these guys were incredible. They were up for anything.
So a lot of times you have to position horses that are in sight close enough to where it calms the horse down, but keep that horse out of the shot, but get the horse you want in the shot. So it's a lot of people behind the scenes catching horses, moving things around. It's a challenge making independent movies.
I was up 24 hours last night. I'm working right now on 2.5 hours of sleep. We're just getting started. We'll go to 3 or 4 a.m. again, probably. I mean, I have no choice. I have to be okay.
The only time in the process to where I was kind of...
Taste this red?
No, the little herb? The conversation about the music and the conversation about the instruments and the instrumentation. It's because just at that time, those certain elements wouldn't have been in a juke joint in Mississippi. It came around to understanding, that culturally, like it has to make sense. So if you want people to look like me to watch and understand and respect it, it has to follow some certain guidelines, or it's gonna automatically be just rejected visually by certain side of viewers, you know what I'm saying? So you totally understood.
There was a lot of support for making Texas Red, but there were also a lot of people that didn't want us to make it. Some of those people were the descendants of those who had been involved with the story. And they contacted me, they contacted the writer, Don Symington. I talked with them a little bit, but I could tell they were just not even open to conversation about the project. And we decided to proceed, but that's not where the harassment ended.
It really came to the head when we were filming in Carlisle, Mississippi. We'd already gotten some threats or something for someone had gone through to Jennifer Whitehead, who's one of our crew members who supposedly knew who these people were.
We actually had one of those people show up on set and was kind of stalking us in his truck, driving back and forth.
And when they came by the next time, I took a picture of his tag, and that made him mad. So he came back again, turned around, and stopped right in front of me and said, "Did you get what you wanted?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I did. Have a good day." And they took off, but we got the police involved.
When we were going to approach the scene where Texas Red is laid out in front of the courthouse. We were originally going to film that in Meadville, where it actually happened. And I think because of the pressures of some of those families, the city of Meadville decided not to support our efforts. And that was a blow because it happened in the middle of production.
There was some pushback for some local politicians. I was disappointed that the courthouse scenes weren't filmed at the courthouse like they were planned. But, you know, I was happy that a nearby county opened its doors up.
To me, it was sad that we had to switch locations because I feel like once again, Meadville ended up on the wrong side of history.
You had to make some improvisations. This courthouse was no longer available, so the mayor over in Monticello said use ours, and I was amazed how I think about 175 people showed up in the attire and came for no pay, just to be in the film and do what you asked them to do. I don't know how you did that on Facebook or something.
It's getting so hard to stay on top of the preparation of things, you know, and I have to be mentally there if I'm sending emails, making call sheets for the next movies. I mean, a couple roles, I cast those roles the day before I needed the person. Key roles, I was still struggling to cast them all the way up until pretty much we're filming. There's going to be a moment some point during this process that I'm going to get caught with my pants down. I'm going to get kicked in the ass.
My fellow Americans, today the World Health Organization officially announced that this is a global pandemic.